She vanished for 8 years, did time, and came back demanding half my damn house. So I'm standing in my front yard, half asleep, holding a gas station burrito and a busted umbrella, when bam, she appears like a jump scare. Leaning on the fence like she owns the damn place, wearing a knockoff Adidas tracksuit, hair like a Brillo pad, and this wild look in her eye like she just finished a boss battle IRL. "Hey, bro," she says, grinning with 3 teeth too many showing. "Let's talk about our house." I swear I thought I was hallucinating. My sister, who dropped off the face of the earth 8 years ago. No birthday texts, no family dinners, not even a casual, "You alive?" DM, nothing but radio silence since the infamous credit card incident. Long story short, she borrowed mom's Amex, fled to Ibiza, and got arrested for fraud while live streaming on Facebook. Turns out, she didn't flee the country. She went to jail, and now she's out, rebranded, fresh from the clink. Apparently, enlightenment comes with nicotine breath and a folder full of legal notes. I'm standing there, still holding my sad burrito, and I go, "Wait. What the actual F*** are you doing here?" She blows a smoke ring directly into my face, dead serious. "I want my half of the house." "Your half? Lady, you didn't even call when Grandma died. Let me break this down for y'all. The house originally belonged to our grandma. Classic old lady spot. Plastic-covered furniture, porcelain cats on every surface, and a smell that can only be described as eau de mothball and regret. But it was home. When she passed, I was the only one around. I handled everything. Funeral, probate, the weird cousin who tried to steal her jewelry box. And guess what? She left a will, plain as day. The house goes to me. Not shared, not divided, just me. I've been living here ever since. Paid off the debt, replaced the roof, fought the mold in the basement like it was a boss in Dark Souls. This place is mine in blood, sweat, and 4 Home Depot credit cards. But here comes trouble, fresh out the gates, acting like it's Monopoly night. "I've changed," she says, uninvitedly stepping onto the porch. "Prison gave me clarity. You know what else prison gave her? A weird sense of entitlement and a newfound obsession with family restoration." She actually pulls out a folder and starts reading like she's in a courtroom drama. According to section blah blah scam of inheritance rights. Blah. Descendants have shared interest in property unless otherwise contested. I cut her off. "There is a will. Wills can be forged," she says, sipping from a big gulp like she just said something profound. "By WHO? I ask. Grandma was 92 and wrote it with a damn calligraphy pen." She shrugs. "I'm just saying. People do things. Mistakes happen. Maybe you manipulated her." "Oh, we're doing that now?" "I manipulated a 92-year-old woman into giving me the house while also unclogging her toilet every week and making sure she didn't set the microwave on fire again?" She starts pacing around the yard like she's measuring square footage with her eyeballs. Then yells out, "Hey, Larry. You think I deserve half this house?" Larry is our neighbor. Larry drinks Smirnoff Ice at 10 a.m. and once set his shed on fire trying to cook bacon on a George Foreman grill. Larry, of course, yells back, "I dunno, WHO the F*** are you?" "That's my sister," I mutter. "She thinks she lives here now." "I do live here," she snaps. "Spiritually. It's our legacy. You ever had someone claim spiritual ownership of your house?" "Because I have. It's like ghost squatters, but with parole officers." Later that day, she literally called for a family town hall in the front yard. Said we should let the community decide. By community, she meant the guy who sells weed on a bike, the twins from down the street who set off fireworks in April, and Larry, who had now switched to vodka and was wearing one Croc. She even brought snacks. Like this was a goddamn WA meeting. Bag of stale Doritos and a half-drunk bottle of Faygo. "Democracy, baby," she said. "If we all vote, and the majority agrees I deserve half, then I move in. Deal?" I laughed so hard I choked on a piece of gum. "No." She called me a capitalist pig. Then tried to sleep on the porch in a blanket she found in the trash pile behind the 7-Eleven. And yes, she still had that black eye. When I asked what happened, she just said, "Prison politics," and winked. Not even kidding. I locked the doors. I blocked the windows. I deadass sat in the hallway with a broom like it was a shotgun. Because I knew the storm had just started. And the forecast? 100% chance of absolute family level F********. I had a gut feeling it wasn't over. Even after she camped out on my porch with a trash blanket and a cigarette hanging from her mouth like a 1950s movie villain, I still told myself she'd leave soon. It was just a scene, a tantrum. A dramatic little comeback story that would burn out once she realized I wasn't buying it. I gave it 3 days. She lasted 1. The next morning, I walked outside in my slippers to take out the trash and nearly had a stroke, because there she was, again, sitting on the porch swing like she lived there. Not sleeping this time, sipping coffee from one of my mugs, wearing my old hoodie, and scrolling on a cracked iPhone. I stopped mid-step. She looked up, gave a smug little grin, and said, "Morning. We need to talk legal stuff." I just stared. Legal stuff? Before I could ask what the hell she meant, she added, "I brought someone who knows the system. She's helping me with everything." From around the corner of my yard came this woman, maybe mid-40s, hair up in a greasy ponytail, wearing a bright orange windbreaker that said security on the back. Cropped leggings, knockoff Uggs, chipped nail polish. She had a manila folder under her arm and the kind of vibe that made me instinctively check that my wallet was still in my pocket. "This is Cheryl," my sister said. "Tammy," the woman corrected, then immediately followed it up with, "But I also go by T." I didn't ask what the T stood for. I didn't want to know. "I'm representing your sister," she said, pulling a wrinkled sheet of paper from the folder. "We're here to notify you of a property claim being filed, based on her rightful familial interest." She handed me the paper like it was some kind of official court document. It wasn't. It was titled, "Notice of Intent to Reclaim Ancestral Assets." Looked like it was printed off a Word doc template with clip art and Comic Sans font. Not a single real legal reference, no signature, and no mention of a law firm. I looked up at her. "Are you a lawyer?" She smirked. "Not licensed. I'm a consultant, but I've handled cases like this before. You can represent yourself in family claims. It's called spiritual equity." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. "What the hell is spiritual equity?" "It's a movement," she said. "Google it." "No thanks." I told them both to get off my property, and that I was calling the police. Tammy, or T, or whatever her name was, told me to be careful, because interfering with a claim of lineage is a federal issue. I shut the door on them. 15 minutes later, I made the call. To their credit, the cops didn't take long to arrive. 2 officers, one young guy who looked like he could still be in college, and a woman who had seen some *T written all over her face. I explained everything. That my sister had vanished for 8 years. That I had full legal ownership of the house via my grandmother's will. That my sister was now squatting on the porch and harassing me with fake legal threats. And that she had brought a woman who claimed to be her consultant, but seemed more like someone who lived off gas station hot dogs. The cops took my statement, nodded a lot, and then asked to speak to her. They were outside with her for maybe 10 minutes. I watched through the blinds. She was animated, waving her arms, probably telling them how I stole her childhood home, and used grandma's declining health to get the house, while she was unfairly imprisoned. I recognized that tone. I'd heard it before when we were kids, and she'd break something, then cry her way out of blame. Eventually, they knocked on my door again. "Sir," the older officer said, "unfortunately, unless she's forcibly entering your home, we can't charge her with trespassing right now. The porch isn't enclosed, and if she used an open window to enter, technically it's not breaking and entering either." I blinked. "She broke in through the window. Was it locked?" "No." The younger cop chimed in. "If she previously lived in this house at any point, or has any claim to believe she has a right to be here, that becomes a civil issue. You'll have to take it to court." "So you're saying I just have to let her live on my porch?" "She's not inside the residence, sir," the officer replied. "We suggest you secure all access points. And talk to a property attorney." They left, and my sister, now feeling invincible, went right back to sitting on the porch, eating instant ramen like she just won a case on Judge Judy. She said, "Told you the law was on my side." "No, the law's just polite," I muttered, locking the front door. Next morning, I went straight to a real lawyer. Not Craigslist Tammy, not some energy healing courtroom shaman, an actual professional. I brought everything. The will, the title, the utility bills. Photos of the renovations, tax records, even grocery receipts proving I'd lived there continuously. He looked it all over and said, "You're solid. But if she files a claim, it'll still go to court. Might be a few months of paperwork and hearings, but she doesn't have a leg to stand on." Still, the stress was real. By the time I got home, my sister had set up what looked like a permanent porch camp. Blanket, folding chair, some half-melted candles, and her case documents, laid out like she was running a yard sale for delusion. I didn't say anything, just went inside, installed extra locks, ordered a Ring camera, and started a folder called Sister Drama on my computer to log everything. Because deep down I knew, she wasn't leaving anytime soon. A week had passed since her so-called return to the family. I'd learned to ignore the morning tea rituals on my porch, the weird printouts she left lying around, and her spiritual lawyer, who had mysteriously vanished after I asked for her business license. My sister was still camped out on the porch like a statue of victimhood and vengeance. She ate instant noodles, smoked cigarettes, scrolled through Facebook, and tried to win sympathy from neighbors. At one point, she even taped a sign to my front gate that read, "Here lives the betrayed daughter of this lineage." I took it down in 5 minutes. And still somehow thought, well, this has to be rock bottom. I was wrong. Again, on the third Tuesday of her campaign for justice, I heard a loud knock on the gate. Not a doorbell, a knock. Like someone was slamming a fist against metal. I opened the gate and found a man standing there. Late 50s or early 60s. Balding, big gut, wearing a stained windbreaker. One hand held a can of cheap beer. The other, a plastic grocery bag that smelled like it had meat rotting inside. "You the brother?" he asked. "Of who?" I replied. "Of Lena," he said. Note, my sister's name isn't Lena, but close enough. I raised an eyebrow. "Maybe. Who are you?" "I'm the witness," he said proudly. "They called me to confirm that your grandma promised Lena the house." I was there, heard it with my own ears. Once at Easter, once when they were making soup or something. She said, "Lena, when I'm gone, this house is yours." Clear as day. I blinked. He said it like he was reading testimony in court. "And who are you exactly?" I asked. "Name's Gennady. Me and your grandma used to go to the housing office together. Complain about the roof. We were friendly. She'd give me tea sometimes. I even fixed a chain on your grandson's bike once." "I don't have a grandson." "Oh," he paused. "Well, I fixed someone's bike. Doesn't matter. What matters is, I heard what I heard." Just then, my sister came out onto the porch. Beaming, glowing like she'd just won the lottery. "See? I told you," she said. "This is a living witness. He'll testify in court that Grandma promised me the house out loud. And a verbal inheritance is legally valid if there's a witness. Look it up." I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "You got this from the internet?" "Yeah," she said, like it was gospel. "I found a post on a legal forum. Exact same situation, and the woman won her case. What she conveniently left out, in that case, the verbal will was recorded on video, in front of a notary, with 6 family members present. Not some shaky retelling by a guy who looked like he washed his hands last in 2009. I called my lawyer. He sighed the moment I mentioned a verbal promise. "If they actually try to file a claim based on this man's testimony, we'll countersue for defamation. But if he submits a written statement and backs it in court, it will delay the process. Could drag this out for 3 months." The next day, my sister marched into the local administration building and filed a complaint titled, "Violation of Heir Rights." I found out when the police showed up at my door with the paperwork. "Don't worry," the officer said. "This isn't criminal, but she filed an official complaint. You'll need to come down for a formal interview." And that's how I ended up sitting in a police station, across from a kid who got caught stealing gum from a convenience store, and a drunk guy who passed out on a bus. When they called me in, the officer, mid-40s, glasses, expressionless, started reading off a report. "Your name is, okay. This is your sister, correct?" "Unfortunately, yes," I replied. "She claims your grandmother made a verbal promise, in front of a witness, that she would inherit the house." "You deny this?" "She left a will," I said. "A written, notarized, official will. I don't know who that man is or where he came from." The officer shrugged. "Fair enough. This is just procedure. But if this goes to court, prepare for her to use any angle she can. That's how family gets. He paused, then added, my cousin once stole my laptop. Haven't seen him at a holiday since. So there I was, sitting in a police station, defending myself against a claim based on some verbal promise, supposedly made years ago, told by a man who doesn't know whose grandkid he helped fix a bike for. And my sister? She's fully leaned into the wronged woman role now. Started wearing long skirts, talking to stray cats, and announced she was starting a video diary called Restoring the Inheritance. I bought another security camera. And I started filming everything she did. Nearly 4 months had passed since she reappeared in my life. 4 months of stress, of court hearings, legal forms, emails back and forth between lawyers, collecting documents I never thought I'd need. 4 months of living in my own home like it was enemy territory. Locking every door, closing blinds, watching my own porch like it was a crime scene. She didn't back off. If anything, she dug in deeper. Filed complaints. Posted videos, got herself a representative, who came and went like a seasonal flu. Filed one more motion, started calling herself the spiritual heir on TikTok. The phrase actually started trending in some ridiculous corner of the internet. She tried everything: emotional manipulation, fake legalese, a handwritten letter from grandma that mysteriously showed up with zero verification. She even submitted a list of neighbors who were willing to testify, one of whom was a guy who once asked me if raccoons could read minds. But eventually, the system caught up. There was a will, a legally binding, notarized, certified will. And every time she threw a tantrum in the courtroom, the judge looked less amused and more done. Her law student representative made one last plea. Something about moral justice. He quoted some random philosopher, waved his hands around like he was in a Netflix courtroom drama, and asked the court to see the soul behind the signature. The judge blinked once and said flatly, "There is a will. That is the law. Case closed. The house was mine, officially, permanently. No appeals, no loopholes." Her claims were denied across the board. I didn't celebrate. There was nothing to celebrate. I walked out of the courtroom with my lawyer, who gave me a small nod and said, "That's done." I said thank you, shook his hand, and went home. I opened the front door like I was entering it for the first time again. But it didn't feel like home. It felt like a battlefield after the war was over. Everything was in its place. The table, the couch, the old clock in the hallway. But something was gone. Something invisible, but real. I sat down on the edge of my bed and stared at the floor. I had expected to feel relief. I had hoped it would hit me like a wave. But instead, I just felt cold, numb, not sad, just emptied out. The next morning, I found her standing in the front yard. Not sitting, not pacing. Just standing still, bag at her feet, coat zipped, eyes unreadable. "So," she said, "you got what you wanted." I said nothing. "You won," she repeated, quieter. "You fought for walls and paperwork. I fought for what I thought was mine. Maybe that makes me crazy. But I still think you chose the easy way." Still, I said nothing. "You never even tried to talk to me like a person. You went straight to lawyers. You think that's justice? Maybe. But it's cold." There was a pause. "You don't need to worry. I'm done. You won't see me again." She picked up her bag and walked down the street. No drama, no shouting, just a small, dull thud as the gate closed behind her. And then she was gone. I stood in the doorway for a long time after. Then I went inside, unplugged the security camera system, and deleted all the backup files from the cloud. It was over. That evening I sat on the porch, in silence. For the first time in months, it was just me. No legal threats. No talking through the window. No sideways glances from passing neighbors. Just quiet. And I realized, I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I was just tired. Tired of being right. Tired of being alone. Tired of watching the past eat away at the present. The house was mine. The floors, the roof, the plumbing. The bills were in my name. The records, the deeds, the will, all ironclad. But all I could think about was Grandma, humming in the kitchen. The sound of her slippers on the hallway floor. Her laughing when we fought over cards. Her telling us to be kind to each other. That house used to feel like something warm. Now it was just brick and drywall. Still mine, but hollow. I won the house, but I lost the last piece of human connection with the people I once ate dumplings with in Grandma's kitchen. Maybe that's for the best.